Hi, yeah, my name's Dan Poulton. I'm on the editorial board of Counterfire. I'm also a journalist and documentary producer. I think in many ways this session is an extension of the conversation that started with John's introduction to writing, although we are changing forms in quite an obvious way. A lot of these processes about truth-telling and objectivity are part of that ongoing discussion. So I'm not going to speak for too long, partly also because we've got two very talented people to talk to you as well. But I do want to sort of start by just setting the scene about the significance, I think, of video reporting in particular for citizen journalists. In particular, when you, as Counterfire, one of the things that, as a revolutionary organisation, we see part of the job of work is to be, essentially, to be the memory of the class, of the working class, or the memory of people in struggle, because acts of leadership are happening all the time in various different places, and our job is to show that these such things happen, to document them, and also to counter, to provide a counterblast to what the right-wing media are doing. And I think that's, in a way, that's no better exemplified by, if anyone's seen the YouTube clip of Nick Robinson smashing up a anti-war placard. Because it was getting in the way of his, I'll dig up the clip later perhaps, because it was getting in the way of his BBC report. And so I think the intersection of social media networks and video journalism can actually deal a very devastating blow to the other side, so to speak. But just to set the scene and show how deep I think this kind of could go, I'm just going to quote from Paul Mason's latest book, Why It's Kicking Off Everywhere. He's talking about the rise of social media, and he says, how has it affected the lives of ordinary people? And he quotes from @Sarah's World, that's her Twitter name for those of you who aren't on the Twitter bandwagon. She's a 22-year-old Egyptian drama student whose video blog became a cult after the fall of Mubarak. And she said, I think my morale, my mood, my general mood is so connected and parallel to how Egypt is doing. I wake up to check Twitter. In fact, this is how I get myself to wake up. Before the 25th of January, which was the revolution, I had 200 followers on Twitter. Now I have 13,000. It took off because of my video blog on YouTube. You'd be surprised at the amount of people who see this. Some people just get it on their phone. A doorman ran up to me and said, I recognise you from YouTube. But he's illiterate, and I'm going, how? He said, someone sent it to me to my cell phone via Bluetooth. So I think, to me that illustrates how deep these kind of mediums and video journalism and social media can penetrate into society. So we've got two speakers today. William, who's going to start us off, William Alderson, is a member of Counterfire. He's got an extensive background in editing, news editing, and as a journalist as well. He's going to talk you through news reportage, and then we're going to follow up with Sanum Ghaffor, who many of you might know. She had the tweet that went around the world, which was the Blame the Muslims hashtag in the wake of the Warwick massacre last year, but she's also very well known for her innovative use of video blogging. So we have a nice range. So start with William, who's going to speak for about 10 or 15 minutes. William.
Okay, I just want to say that I'm not going to talk about using video to record an event like this is being recorded, just so that people who are not here can see it. I'm not going to talk about the use of video as commentary, which is obviously what Sanum's going to talk about. And I'm not going to talk about the use of video as an art form or anything. What I'm talking about specifically is reporting news using video. My background for that was nearly 25 years working in BBC News, television, film editing. I trained on film, worked on video. I was the first editor to cut a story live on the day on computer for the 6 o'clock news. So I've used all the traditional media up to the present. I got started in reading because they were showing stuff. I thought, well, I've got a digital camera, it takes moving pictures. Why don't I start shooting moving pictures and editing them on iMovie on my computer? And it's brought me back into editing from, for the first time in many years. And what's wonderful is actually being in control of what I'm doing. And I want to just outline the basic principles that govern what I'm doing, then show you an example, and then talk briefly about that example. Fundamentally, we want people to watch the videos, We want people to believe the videos, and we want people to be inspired by the videos. If you're not doing that, they won't come back. You know, they won't listen to you, and they won't take what you're saying into account. A lot of videos on Counterfire tend to be just rushes. They tend to be just what the camera saw, not edited at all. And they can get really boring to watch. So you need to keep the length down for people to watch it. I reckon anyone who sees 45 minutes, unless it's something you particularly want to watch, they're not going to even bother. If they see 3 to 5 minutes, okay, they are likely to watch it. The people will put up with low quality of pictures, I think, but they won't put up with not being able to understand what somebody's saying. They can't hear what somebody's saying. That is a real problem, and then they're not going to come back. And that's, with this standard of equipment, that is a problem. You know, recording people speaking is a real problem. And the other thing is getting it up then quickly. You know, it needs to be up by the next day, because then everyone who's been at whatever event you're reporting on, you know, can get to it quickly and pass it on quickly. The truth, and talking about it being believable, you know, obviously you've been discussing the truth earlier, and balance, and you know, I have no trouble with balance, it's irrelevant. The truth is important. If you don't tell the truth, why should people ever come back to you? Once you've lied, how can they believe what you say subsequently? The truth is important. But what's important also in video, for it to be believable, is that it's coherent, that what you've put together fits together. I worked on Newsnight once, and they did a report on a demonstration in Poland. This was after Solidarity, some years after Solidarity was big news. And Lech Wałęsa was there, and you know, you could tell by the body language it was a good clip, and they got a translator in, and they found it was a good clip, and they were using it, and then the script came down, and I started cutting the pictures. We listened to this track. I looked at the translator, I said, but this is rubbish, isn't it? He said, yeah. And at the end of this piece, the journalist was saying, this is a new generation, it's got no connection to what happened in the past. So over that, I showed shots of all the generations you could see occupying this factory, from the youngest to the oldest, and a shot of the monument that Solidarity had forced them to build outside that plant in memory of the people who died in the past, fighting for their rights. In other words, you know, what I did was actually say, I showed that with the pictures that what the reporter was saying was absolute nonsense. This is the power of what you can do in terms of giving a coherent message that can actually contradict a message that is in the script through the pictures. Obviously, what we want to do is actually to make it coherent, supporting what we're saying. So how do we inspire people? Make it positive. People have to, you know, you can always record a defeat as a defeat and everyone feels, oh God, worse after it. But there's always something good, there's always something positive that can come out of every story. Look for that and try to use it. In particular, we need to be looking, you know, at explaining it theoretically, how this fits into context, how this gives us a better understanding of what we can do in the future. And also, how practically we can make a difference, how we can get involved. So, you know, if you're reporting about a campaign, look at how that campaign can link up. Make sure that the idea that people can link up with it is built into what you're doing, so that you bring people together. Within this, there's a question of, right. Okay, so very briefly, what we need to be doing in doing these reports and inspiring people is challenging the status quo. I think that's essential. It's reportage which challenges. You know, it encourages debate. It selects not just officials to interview, but ordinary people who are involved in what's happening. And it interprets what's happening and puts the case of activists rather than the case of non-activists. And in particular, we need to promote collective action, because it's in collective action that we become strong. So I'm just going to play this clip, and then I'll talk about how I see this as working in this particular case.
Mark Sawatka of PCS gave me an offer for today. He said, come to London, do a tour on our bus. And I said, what, when I can go to Lynn?
around 200 demonstrators marched through the centre of King's Lynn on the 30th of November. This was the first trades union march through the town for decades, and nobody knew how many to expect. The police had been concerned about the march keeping to the pavement, but the numbers were large enough to halt traffic on the main road and fill side roads.
The demo was fantastic. One of the best turnouts I've seen, and for King's Lynn, which is strictly blue country, it's fantastic. I mean, we had less support than this in Worcester.
The route took the march past picket lines, including the tax office, the library, the council offices and the jobs centre.
The demonstration was well organised. We had, before I came here, we also had one at St James's, a small picket line, that we had physiotherapists and occupational therapy staff there as well, and it was really well supported.
The protesters knew exactly what the strikes were about.
I've paid into my pension for 34 years at the moment, and if and when I do retire, after 42 years of pension, my pension will be about £10,000, which is hardly gold-plated.
Some hoped that the march would help make the public aware of the issues.
I'm really pleased with the turnout. I think it just shows the strength of feeling. I don't think the public really know why we're doing what we're doing. I think it needs to be publicised more about why we're doing this and the impact it could have if we lose.
The demonstration went up the High Street to arrive at the final rally in the centre of the shopping area, where 6 speakers stressed the importance of the fight.
This Tory-led government is engaging in social and educational vandalism. Our fight is a fight for a society which gives everyone a decent pension and looks after the old, the young, the vulnerable.
And the Tory government's already broken its promise to low-paid women. 800,000 people, 90% of them women, will be caught in the Tory trap of higher pension contributions.
The Chancellor also seemed to get confused when in one breath he spoke of getting young people into work, and in the next he declared he would raise the state retirement age to 67. We've had our day. The young deserve theirs.
I think that we've got nurses and physios moving patients. Will we expect them to move them at the age of 67? Will we expect a 67-year-old fireman to rescue someone from a burning building? I'm really proud to be here, and I'm proud to see you standing up for what you believe in. Not just your pensions, to which you have a right, but the fact that you're here to stand up for the public services and that you believe in the job you do as well, which is fundamental to our well-being, because that, I think, is the bigger issue which is on our agenda now.
We only had a welfare state because we fought for it. We must fight back now. Queensland Trades Council is affiliated to the Coalition of Resistance. Join us and start the fight back.
Sid Maud has a pension pot of over £700,000!
The King's Lynn and District Trades Council was only set up in 2009, but it has worked with activists and other organisations such as the Coalition of Resistance to build unity and confidence in King's Lynn. Organisers and protesters agree that this demonstration has succeeded in that aim.
It was brilliant. It was a magnificent turnout, and it shows the depth of feeling that people in King's Lynn and surrounding areas feel at these proposed cuts.
I thought it was marvellous. I think it was really good humoured, and everybody was aiming for the same object, and it was just fantastic. And
Not follow the chronology of the actual event. Over an hour long, there was 40 minutes of recorded rushes, but it's only a tenth of that actually gets onto the screen. But there was a deliberate policy to start off with that opening clip. Because it was the first demonstration in King's Lynn, it's about the whole process of creating that demonstration was about creating activism in King's Lynn, after decades of none, it was important to send that signal. You don't have to go to London to do things. You can do it here. People are willing to do it here, which is why it's then immediately followed up with the numbers who are on it. And I know the numbers are right because I counted them. You know, I made a point of counting them to make sure that we got a proper figure. And then I reorganised speakers, so the final speaker from the rally section was actually promoting the Trades Council and Corps. You know, this is something you can do. And actually 3 people joined the Coalition of Resistance as a result of what that speaker said at that rally. Also the interviews, you've got the speakers, you've got the official people, but also there were the unofficial people, the people who were just along there, and it's a question of going out there and asking them, what do you think about it? And making sure that the questions are one which you can then use the answer to. Because of the way it's cut, you believe what it's telling you. You see the evidence that supports what's being stated. And there are mistakes in it. And I'm going to actually point those up, because I think this is useful. Between the 3rd and 4th shot, the demonstration reverses direction. And it's partly because it did a sort of U-turn, and the sun was in the camera. I just couldn't shoot it in the U-turn. So there was a physical problem with doing that with the equipment that I'd got. Another one, it's a more subtle one. You saw the Indian lady who came forward to talk to someone in the crowd later on, just before the rally. That shot and the shot immediately after it have 2 shop signs of very similar colour. In fact, they're not that similar in reality, but the way that the camera's recorded is very similar. It makes the shot appear to jump. The shot change, there appears to be a jump. What's important about that, and important about the change of direction, is every time the vision causes you to jump, you stop actually believing and listening to what you're hearing. Not necessarily consciously, but unconsciously it jerks you. These are things to avoid. So it's useful actually to be able to give examples of where these are left in. Another problem was you probably heard that sound glitch just before the student spoke. There's this sudden bit of sound came up. And that's, again, a technical problem, that in putting his title up over the clip, it wiped the ramping of the sound that I put in. And because of the haste of getting it out before the next day, that got overlooked. So there's a hell of a lot of detail. This is why I can't explain everything involved in video editing in a session like this. There's a lot of detail, but paying attention to those details improves the quality of what people see, improves their desire to come back and see it, and improves the extent to which you get hard information out to people. Thank you.
Thank you for that, William, and thanks for coming in really punctually on time. Well, I mean, I think from one style to another is probably an understatement. Sanum's video blogs are legion. I think that's the right way to explain them. She's just going to queue up. Oh, she's got her slides and everything. So, so are you ready to?
Yeah.
Roll,
okay, right. Mine's going to be completely different to William's. William's been doing this for longer than I've been born. Probably when I was a twinkle in my dad's eye. So yeah, given the backdrop, we're in economical crisis everywhere. We're in wars. We're with News of the World going on. With the Rupert Murdoch press now is essential to try and get alternative forms of media out there. So I'm going to talk about my videos. So as you can see, the Broke Student's Guide to Video Making. I'm going to show you don't actually need fancy equipment. You don't need any real money to choose that. You don't need any real money to buy equipment or anything like that. So I'm going to start and show you some of mine. Oh wow, that's a bad shot, isn't it? That's not the worst one.
Some other key points, he was really good friends with the US. In fact, in 2009, Obama actually said, Mubarak is a force for stability and for good in the region. What a douchebag. The US provided him with basically whatever he wanted. Every year gave him about $2 billion. Another funny key point is that Mubarak survived another 5 assassination attempts. This man is like Superman. You shove a load of kryptonite at him and he still survived. You know you're a Muslim when you get a seat in rush hour. You know you're a Muslim when someone asks you, hey, are you wearing anything underneath your jilbab? No, I go commando. You know you're a Muslim when you get asked.
Very, very egotistical. The second was, you know you're a Muslim. So I'm going to focus on that one more than anything. So with the anti-Muslim press that's going on out there, Dan and Fran wrote a brilliant article for The Guardian regarding the Leveson inquiry into anti-Muslim press. So that video was focusing on the misconceptions people have about Muslims and like all the stupid questions. I've actually been asked every single question in that video on the you know you're Muslim ones. I've actually been asked. So, but I don't really go commando under my jilbab, just in case anyone was wondering. So yeah, that video. So in the media they tend to say stupid things about Muslims, like the term that's always used is the Muslim world, as though this is Earth, this is our planet, the Muslim world is somewhere near Mars and in between Mars and Jupiter. So trying to, my voice is going, one sec. Trying to say Muslims are a complete alien concept to anything out there. So I put that video, you know you're Muslim. So the N-dubs one, that definitely won't be on a Counterfire anytime soon. But you can do that with anything, just analyse someone's speech, someone's performance on Newsnight, and just clip it and say just how crap it was. The snowman video I just put in because Claire likes that video. And the time-lapse effect, Dan's going to be talking about later. So I literally kept the camera in one place and built a snowman and filmed it because I'm sad like that. Alright, so watch it. Yeah. No, but because it's got Kofia, maybe Counterfire would have put that on the page. Right, camera. Oh, my mum's going to kill me for this. Please don't record this bit, Paul. My mum, she bought me a camera, and she actually bought me a massive bag, but I keep it in a sock. So this is the Tichy camera that I use. So it's literally a Handycam, and it probably hasn't got much battery. This was about £100. My mum bought it for me because she's lovely like that. Mum, please don't shout at me for putting them in the sock. And the other one I used before that, if I can get it out, it's just a basic digital camera. It was probably worth 50 quid now. It's discontinued, so I literally just put it on video setting and start making a video. Oh, tripod, right, everyone can see this amazing tripod that's over here. You don't need that, you don't need to spend any money. You guys are very privileged to get exclusive into my lovely tripod. So this is one of them, it's a ladder, and I put the camera on top of one of them, and this is the one I'm using at the moment. So as you can see, there's Monopoly, there's Payday, there's Box Celebrations, 1001 albums you must hear before you die, that's crap by the way. And right at the top, there's a camera. To keep this camera firmly attached onto that grill, there's a hair clip, so as you can tell it's very ghettified, and that light, I think my mum bought it for like a £5 at Lidl, so it's very studentified with games and all that, so you don't actually need anything amazing or expensive, but your one's amazing obviously. Alright, editing software. The one I used this morning to do this, it says 11:05, that's when Claire texted me and said, are you on your way? And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely on my way. So this is Windows Live Movie Maker. It comes free on all your computers. You chuck all your videos in, you can edit it, you can add animations, you can add little titles and all that. If you want to juice it up, at the moment I keep downloading the free versions of everything, so like 30-day free, Sony Vegas, 30-day free, Adobe Premiere, so I'm doing that at the moment. But for basic things, this is perfect. Right, the teleport effect. Oh, I always jump around the screen and everyone seems to like that. You keep the camera in exactly one place and you move around. So I'm over here. Now everyone close your eyes. Close your eyes, everyone. Open. Oh, look, I've teleported. So what you do is you film it, you move around, and when you go to the editing stage, you just take out the bit where you're moving. So you're here and then you're there. And yeah, it seems to work. And it's good because people kind of like the fact that the background stays the same. In all the videos it's the same, and what you were saying about truth, the fact that I'm in my bedroom, I'm not like in a studio anywhere, I've got dirty plates in the background, my clothes are probably all over the place, people seem to like that because it's very realistic. Like I said, you don't need fancy equipment at all you need a reasonable camera, so this did the job perfectly until I got a new one, something to stack the camera on, whether that's books, whether that's using a hair clip, whatever you use, it's perfect. Basic software, Windows Movie Maker is fine. If you want to juice up, I'm sure these two have used a lot better equipment than I have, and a bit of time obviously to film it, to edit it, and to upload. And that's it.
Thank you, Sanum, for the snowman, if nothing else. That's awesome. But I mean, I think that's. I mean, as we were saying in the discussion earlier about writing, you know, we have such an opportunity for things in completely different ways, and I think one of the things is you've got to start from where you are. I mean, and Sam and William have both been flashing these very stylish Canon cameras or whatever. And the other component to it is slightly more expensive per month, I suppose, but like most people will subscribe to phone bills. Most of their phone bills go over £30 a month. You can get a basic I mean, I was slightly indulgent with mine, but you can get a basic smartphone, and I think these are the sort of things for video journalists that, I mean, if you read, for example, if you read Paul Mason's book, who's, you know, he's got the whole power of the BBC behind it, but a lot of it, he says, oh, I was caught up in this thing and I happened to have a mini camera, or I was worried about getting beaten up during the riots, so I got out my tiny, you know, 3-inch long camera. So, you know, it's just one of the kind of tools that people should just have on, even if they don't consider themselves to be journalists. You can, and the good thing is you can upload straight away to YouTube. So that's the kind of third thing to sort of bear in mind. But I want to have sort of bring in discussion with people here, because I think people in the room are going to be on various different ends of the spectrum, so to speak, in terms you might just be, you have a camera, or you might have editing software, and all these things can be used. So it'd be good to sort of throw it open to the floor. If you've got any questions for Sam and William, technical questions or political, please do ask.
A technical one to you.
Yeah.
One of the scenes, the image, I think there's no man's scene. The image seemed it was like moving to the left.
Yeah.
It was editing or somebody was moving?
No, it's because it was balancing on snow, and while the snow was melting, the camera was just moving. So it's no fancy effect, it's just the snow was melting. I'm glad you like it, that's brilliant. I'll tell everyone that it was an effect and it wasn't just falling. Cheers. Good to know, good to know.
Sarah, no, sure.
It all seems rather ad hoc and easy, and like you're expressing yourself and you're expressing your opinions, and actually these are quite deep and meaningful discourses that you're like challenging here and you're putting out there to an audience. When I was studying film media before,
so that was cut twice. So you know, the thing is, yes, I'd never used it before I started doing videos for Counterfire, and so I was learning on the job.
I have one more. And do you have, like, when you film, you got a lot of content, and as you said, it's very difficult in the part of editing. Do you have any strategy to, like, oh, that was a good scene, to make notes of what images, like, any strategy of organizing content while you're shooting something like this?
It's an interesting one. The thing is that if the more editing you do, the better you will shoot, because you know what you're going to need in the cutting room, and you do it. You don't think about it; you just do it. But you are thinking, you know, if I do this shot, what am I going to cut it with? You're thinking, so you go for close-ups, you go for wide shots. I mean, I can't zoom with this. Okay, I have to turn it off and turn it on again to get another shot or move physically. So, in a sense, you do that unconsciously. You try to look for building up sequences of stuff, but actually it's when you get to the cutting room, you go through it and you sort out what you want to use. So, you know, the clips, I selected those clips at the stage of editing, picked out the bits I wanted to use, and then the script was written to actually lead from one to the other.
The script was written for?
Yeah, it was how to set up each of those clips so that they worked.
The woman.
I'm very new. I love films or anything, but something that's always a question that's always popped into my mind is: are there any laws as to capturing people in different situations? Are we restricted as filmmakers in terms of shooting people without their permission or anything like that?
As far as I know, in public places, no. Trying to think about that one. It came up. Another issue came up in the first one I did, which was of actually a leafleting and petitioning around an incinerator. And it seemed to me that there wasn't really a problem of filming people in public spaces when I was looking into it. If you're going to, I did have a problem recently, where, as again part of this anti-incinerator campaign, the people of building it were holding an event which they invited the opponents to come to, but basically it was for other businesses to get contracts for building it. And I filmed there, and somebody was nervous about being identified. And as a result, they asked me to erase it. And I erased everything that had anyone in it. Because a private event, private property, yeah, it's, you know, it's dodgy. But in public, no.
I think there's a public interest argument in general with public spaces, especially what we're doing. I think there will be people who might try and get you to take stuff down. In fact, we know for a fact that regimes do try and censor the internet, but I think a lot of it's informal in the sense that, I mean, you might get someone coming up to you saying, can you take that down? I don't want to be my boss to find out. And I think obviously we have a duty to make sure that we're not actually harming people.
Yeah.
And I think that just needs to be our angle. I mean, I think we should be a bit thick-skinned about attempts to censure us, but I think, I mean, if we're doing something that might actually hurt people that we're trying to help, we know we have to have a kind of principle on that. I noticed some people who might want to speak, or they might just be adjusting classes and stuff. So if you do want to speak, do raise your hand. Richard, did you?
Should I get back to your question? Yeah. So you said, do I care about what people think, or do I not? Sometimes when I make videos, I don't really think, but afterwards I'm like, crap, I shouldn't have said that. So in my March 26th video, I was really pissed off because my BlackBerry, a police officer knocked it out of my hand and then it smashed. And I was like, oh, my BlackBerry, that's my baby. You can't do that. So in that video I said, oh, police officers are pigs. Thinking back, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. My mother's whole family are in the force. My grandparents were both in the force. So yeah, I do think I shouldn't have said that. And once you've got a video out there, it's kind of hard to retract what you're trying to say. But it's kind of the same as writing an article. I'm doing exactly the same. I'm doing exactly the same thing, but in video form. So, but what I prefer about videos is I'm crap at writing. I'm not eloquent writer at all. I don't know the difference between a compound and complex sentence. So what I like about video is you don't need to be very eloquent. Like when you're speaking normally, it just comes naturally. So that's the best thing about it. People don't know if you've got dyslexia. People don't know if you've got horrible, terrible writing. I have. God, it's awful. So I think that's what's good about it, and the fact that it's all yours when you're making a video. So if I stutter, I can take it out. If I say something wrong while I'm editing, I can take it out. Whereas if you're working for a news channel or anyone else like that, or a media company, they'll tell you what to put in and what not to. So like with Press TV, they said, oh, Sanum, la, Tehran, I'm not going to like this. So they try to like censor a lot of it out. And plus they don't let me swear in my videos. And whereas YouTube, it's like, go, feel free, swear as much as you like. So yeah, that's it. I hope I answered it.
Sorry, it's just going back. Is it okay to ask another question?
Yeah, good.
It's just going back to the idea of the iPhone, or if you have a smartphone, or if you can, the whole idea of like who can have one, the affordability, but it's the integrity behind like what it is that you want to put out there is what I'm constantly questioning. Like, how much of what I'm saying has so much power that it's going to reach to an audience and make a difference. So, and who's watching it? Like, I sit about and think about the audience. Like, if I show my documentary, say about Egypt, like right now, yeah, and most of it's shot on an iPhone, but is that due to circumstance? Is it because it's the only tool I could find that's available? Is it because of safety and it's small and I can carry it around with me? I start to ask these questions. Will the viewer question, is she a good filmmaker? Does she actually know her tool, her trade? Or is she just it's like the confusion between the citizen journalism and a professional. At the end of the day, who's it for? Is it that I'm doing this because at the end of the day, I want it to reach to masses of people? I want to be recognised by, say, the BBC or something, them to take me on and say, look at what she's produced, you know, timing, or is it, I am really just documenting this event because I really care about it, and it's not about my ego, and it's not about what I'm going to get out of it, but it's just really about feeding, you know, a good cause. So that's my question is, how much do you think about the audience and what they think, whether it's good or bad, you know, when critiquing it in a sense, you know, if they really believe in what it is that you're doing and understand that you know what you're talking about, even though you're using an iPhone and not a big camera with a boom mic. That's what. Who's looking at this?
Can I just say something? I think in one hand sometimes I've had the same kind of question, like with the you know, with the availability of iPhone and the availability of things, sometimes the art.
Then digital video was every time you do a copy, it degrades. You're always looking for the best quality you possibly can. On digital, obviously, it doesn't make any difference. It is what it is as you go along. So that idea of getting the best quality is something I would like to have much better quality video, okay? Because it's easier to watch if it's better quality. But what was interesting about the one that I showed you was that somebody said to the Trades Council, the secretary of the Trades Council, "You're lucky, you've got a professional video maker." So, in other words, even though I recognise that that's really quite low quality, the point is, if you're doing the job successfully, then people will buy it as it is and will recognise that actually you're doing something that they can't get elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? And I think Counterfire has a wonderful opportunity to actually develop into a sort of a television channel as people become more and more experienced at actually taking raw material from whatever source you get it, but making it watchable. And you know, sort of towards the end of my time at the BBC, we were getting stuff that was shot by producers who didn't know how to shoot. They'd had a camera course, didn't know anything about editing, and it was shot on, you know, high 8. So, and you were having to try and make that work. And you know, you can work on anything once you've done that. Once you've been asked by a professional broadcasting company like the BBC to work with really crap material and people who aren't trained and produce a product that's broadcastable, you know, you can work with anything, really.
We've got a couple more people. We've also got